In this video, we're going to create the same frequency distribution for miles per gallon MPG, but we're going to use pivot table. We're going to generate the same information but using pivot table. Okay, so before we start the pivot table command, we have to first highlight the data. All we need is MPG, but usually for pivot table we will highlight the entire data set. Okay, so starting from the label row, so make sure that you're starting from L21 including the label, and the last cell here in cell S59. So now that we have the data highlighted, we go to insert, pivot table, and select pivot table from there. Now we have the table range already displayed. The output, we want to put the output in the same worksheet, and the location, let's see, we want to put the pivot table right here in B23. Click OK. Now the pivot table template is displayed with all the variables displayed on the right side. Now we want miles per gallon, so click drag and drop miles per gallon as row labels, and all the miles per gallons are listed here. We need to group these. We'll come to that in just a second. The frequency, we want to determine how many cars are in each miles per gallon bin. So click and drag and drop cars into the values. So right now you have the count of cars here, but we want to have class intervals for miles per gallon. We don't want each miles per gallon listed individually, so we want to group them. So click in any one of these rows, then right click and select group. In group, we will give the group variable. So we want to start, remember, at 15, and we want to end at 40. We already did these calculations in the previous video. And we want the class intervals, we want this to increment by 5. So 15 through 40 by 5. Click OK, and you have the class intervals and you have the frequencies. You notice that there is a small difference between the frequency distribution using the frequency function and pivot table, and that is for upper limit of 30 we have 9 here and 8 in pivot table. And that's because how the values are handled at the limit. When, see, we have a MPG that is equal to 30, and when it is exactly equal to 30, frequency function handles it as inclusive, so it is counted in this interval. Whereas pivot table is exclusive, so when it is equal to 30, it is not counted in this interval but counted here. In other words, the lower limit is inclusive, not the upper limit in pivot table, whereas in frequency function the lower limit is not inclusive but the upper limit is. And that's the reason why there is a small difference, and you need to be aware of that.